Hello everyone and welcome back to Red Zone Mania. Today we take a look at the top 10 quarterbacks we knew were great, but never won a Super Bowl. When you talk about ranking the best quarterbacks to have ever played in the NFL, only one stat comes to the top of the list. How many Super Bowls did they win? It doesn't matter if they threw for 5,000 yards per season or 50 touchdowns, or even if they won multiple MVPs throughout their career. To most people, it doesn't matter unless you win the biggest game of the year on the grandest stage in all of sports. We all thought these quarterbacks would get at least one Super Bowl championship, but for some reason or another, they couldn't win and complete their legacy. Today, we look at the top 10 NFL quarterbacks that have never won a Super Bowl. Let's get started. Ready, break! Starting off our list at the number 10 spot is Matt Ryan. Known for a cool and calm demeanor in pressure situations, Matty Ice had a stacked offense and the right coaching under Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan to pull off one of the greatest upsets in Super Bowl history. Instead, Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons pulled off one of the wildest choke jobs in Super Bowl history.
Captain Robert Alford, he's gone. There are no flags, and the Falcons.
Unfortunately, the Falcons' performance in Super Bowl 51 was great until their monumental collapse, losing a 28-3 lead.
Out of the shotgun, Ryan gets hit. Ball is out.
Dante Hightower forced a fumble by Matt Ryan with 8:31 left in the fourth quarter, and the Patriots would go on to win in overtime, preventing Matt Ryan from winning his first Super Bowl.
When Dante Hightower sacked Matt Ryan, strip sack, Branch gets the ball, and then they go down and score that touchdown, that game completely changed. The whole dynamics of it changed.
Outside of Super Bowl 51, Ryan's career is Hall of Fame worthy, holding over 30 NFL and Falcon franchise records, 124 wins over a 15-year career, and an NFL MVP season in 2016. He will be competitive for a first ballot Hall of Fame nomination when he's eligible in 2028, despite not having a Super Bowl win on his resume. Another potential Hall of Fame quarterback without a Super Bowl is a guy who was just as close as Matt Ryan in winning his first. He was just 1 yard shy. That's right, coming in at number 9 on our list is none other than Titans quarterback Steve McNair. McNair played in the NFL for 13 seasons and was the last quarterback ever drafted by the Houston Oilers before moving the franchise from Houston to Tennessee. His stats are impressive, throwing for over 31,000 yards, 174 passing touchdowns, and rushing for another 37 touchdowns. No, what's more impressive is being able to compile a 91-62 record, especially reaching the Super Bowl just 3 seasons after their move from Houston. Steve McNair's final drive in Super Bowl 34 allowed the Titans to make one last effort to reach the end zone. With only seconds left in the game, McNair threw a pass to Titans wide receiver Kevin Dyson. As Dyson was reaching for the end zone, St. Louis Rams defender Mike Jones tackled Dyson within a yard from the goal line. The clock ran out and the Titans lost their shot at winning their first Super Bowl ever. Can you name another NFL franchise that hasn't won a Super Bowl? I'll give you a hint. The next quarterback on our list used to play for this team when they had the nickname the Purple People Eaters. Yep, it's Fran Tarkenton from the Minnesota Vikings. Coming in at number 8, Fran Tarkenton has been the signal caller for 3 of the 4 Super Bowl teams for Minnesota from the 1970s. Now, you have to give Fran Tarkenton some credit. He was a phenomenal player, and the Minnesota Vikings were a phenomenal team in the 70s, but they just came across some legendary teams in those 3 Super Bowls. It's tough to outplay Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, and that steel curtain of a defense, or John Madden's high-powered offense earning an NFL record 429 yards. Trying to put the game all on his shoulders, Fran Tarkenton threw 2 picks in the fourth quarter of Super Bowl 11, including a 75-yard pick from defensive back Willie Brown to seal the game for the Raiders. It was a tough loss for Fran Tarkenton, and he never made it back to the big game. After almost 50 years have passed since Fran Tarkenton has been in the league, and some younger players have made it above him on our top 10 list. What do you think? Should Fran Tarkenton be higher up on our top 10 list of quarterbacks who have never won a Super Bowl? Let us know in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. Okay, moving on to number 7 on our list, we have to go with another gunslinger of a quarterback and the first African-American quarterback to be enshrined in the NFL Hall of Fame. Houston Oilers quarterback Warren Moon enters our list at number 7.
I'm involved in a game where The object of that game is to get this oblong ball from one end of the field to the other end of the field, and I'm the guy that's responsible for getting that done.
With his cannon of an arm and quick agility inside of the pocket, Warren Moon quickly gained national attention across the league. In his first season in the NFL, he set a Houston Oilers franchise record for 3,338 yards passing. The NFL was reaching a new era of pass-heavy football in the 80s, with teams giving quarterbacks like Dan Marino and Dan Fouts free reign to let it rip all over the field. But more on those two quarterbacks later on in the video. Warren Moon ended up with 10 postseason games on his resume, but never could reach the Super Bowl. Although he did reach the Grey Cup championship and won multiple championships in the Canadian Football League, he wasn't as successful in the NFL, and I'm afraid the Grey Cup doesn't count for our top 10 list. But for all of you Canadian football fans out there, let us know if you want us to do a special CFL top 10 list. Rounding out the bottom half of our list is a quarterback who absolutely should have delivered a Super Bowl ring if he was on the right team to get him to the postseason promised land. Entering at number 6 is Dan Fouts from the San Diego Chargers. Fouts was an absolute thrill to watch in the 70s and 80s. In a city where professional football competes with beautiful weather, perfect beaches, and endless things to do on Sunday, Dan Fouts kept the Chargers relevant in San Diego for his entire 15-year career. As the NFL's passing yards leader for 4 consecutive years, Fouts gave NFL defenses a fit, averaging over 4,000 yards a season between 1979 and 1981. But the tough part about Fouts' resume is his postseason play. For all of the Chargers fans out there, I know this will be a hard one to hear, but Dan Fouts had talent for giving away the ball in the postseason. On 2 separate occasions, he threw 5 picks in playoff games and had 16 interceptions in only 7 postseason games. The Chargers faced some stingy Hall of Fame defenses in the AFC playoffs, and those turnovers were a major part of the Chargers not making the Super Bowl. Dan Fouts wasn't the only one who couldn't get out of his own way in the playoffs. At number 5, we have number 5, Donovan McNabb, who had a similar fate during his time playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb, under the guidance of his coach Andy Reid, led the Eagles to 4 consecutive NFC Championship games. At the time, this was a huge deal, and McNabb brought the Eagles back to the NFC Championship for the first time in over 20 years. The NFC Championships and sole Super Bowl appearance in Super Bowl 34 against the Patriots kept the Eagles relevant in the conversation as one of the better teams in the early 2000s. But with all of Donovan McNabb's talents, he still couldn't get the Eagles across the finish line, and McNabb joined Ken Stabler and Danny White in the quarterbacks club, who lost back-to-back conference championships. This may keep McNabb from entering a spot in Canton, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. Coming in at number 4 on our list is highly talented quarterback from the University of Miami, Vinny Testaverde. Vinny started off his professional career with a whole lot of hype and an extremely high level of expectations, and rightfully so, coming from the U, where he won every major collegiate award in his senior year, including the Heisman Trophy. As the first overall pick in the 1987 draft, Vinny Testaverde was selected to help the Bucs turn their team around. Unfortunately, his time in Tampa was not pleasant and led the league in interceptions in multiple seasons in Tampa. His time in Cleveland was decent, but still left a lot to be desired. After his 21-year career in the league, Vinny Testaverde held the NFL record for most losses in the history of the league. He wasn't a bust, but I think it's safe to say we all thought he was favored to win at least one Super Bowl in his career coming out of the U. We are now entering the top 3 of our list of quarterbacks who we thought would get at least one Super Bowl in their career. But before we reveal the top 3, let's give you some of the honorable mentions who did not make the list. Carson Palmer from the Cincinnati Bengals and Arizona Cardinals, Michael Vick from the Atlanta Falcons and Philadelphia Eagles, and Cam Newton from the Carolina Panthers and New England Patriots. All 3 quarterbacks had stellar careers and were favorites to earn a ring, but a knee injury, some legal issues, and a run-in with one of the top defenses in Broncos history all prevented these 3 from a world championship ring. Entering number 3 on our list is none other than another San Diego Chargers quarterback, Philip Rivers. Rivers is a heavy favorite for the Hall of Fame and basically shattered all of Dan Fouts' Chargers franchise records. With talented skill players like LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, and Keenan Allen, and incredible coaches like Marty Schottenheimer and Wade Phillips leading the way, the Chargers were always in contention for making a run in the postseason. Unfortunately for Phillip Rivers, he came into the league at the same time as Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, which severely handicapped the Chargers' ability to reach the Super Bowl. Time after time, Rivers played his heart out and always came up short in the postseason. His New York counterpart, Eli Manning, got the better end of their draft day trade. If the Giants ended up with Rivers and Eli Manning stayed with the Chargers, who knows how many rings Rivers would have had today. This should not hold back Rivers' legacy, as many still see him as a top 5 quarterback of his generation. And the number 2 spot on our list is without a doubt one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. Buffalo Bills quarterback Jim Kelly led his team to 4 consecutive Super Bowl appearances from 1990 to 1993 and came up short in all 4 championships. Jim Kelly's run and gun style of passing offense was brought over from his time playing in the USFL with the Houston Gamblers. This style of offense was the first generation of the greatest show on turf before the St. Louis Rams. Jim Kelly's high-powered offense was impressive to watch and led the league in all kinds of passing records in the 1990s and was the top quarterback-wide receiver tandem in the NFL. Although the Bills reached the Super Bowl in 4 consecutive years, Jim Kelly took the Bills to the playoffs 8 times in 11 seasons. His postseason performance is impressive, throwing for 3,863 yards and 21 touchdowns in 17 postseason games. Unfortunately for Kelly and the Bills, they lost to NFC East opponents New York Giants, Washington Redskins, and Dallas Cowboys twice. Similar to Steve McNair in the final drive coming up 1 yard short, Jim Kelly came so close to winning his first Super Bowl against the Giants in Super Bowl 25, but Scott Norwood's kick was just wide of the goalpost to lose the game for the Buffalo Bills. And coming in at number 1 on the list of quarterbacks who we all thought would earn a Super Bowl is none other than Dan Marino, quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I think any casual fan of the NFL, old or young, will agree that Dan Marino is easily the best quarterback to have never won a Super Bowl. You can argue that if he did win his one and only Super Bowl appearance, he would be in the discussion as one of the best quarterbacks ever in comparison to Brett Favre and Drew Brees. However, with his loss to the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 19, his name fades away in the all-time greats conversation. Marino took the Dolphins to multiple AFC Championship games after his Super Bowl appearance in 1984, but couldn't end up victorious in his loss to the Patriots the following year. Dan Marino has earned every record and accolade there is for a quarterback, except for Super Bowl champion. And with a Hall of Fame head coach and Don Shula at the helm, it's surprising that the Miami Dolphins couldn't get back to the big game. But one thing is for sure, Marino's legacy will still be cemented as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL, regardless of Super Bowl titles. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below.